Welcome to Future Role Model, a podcast that praises the unconventional and redefines what it means to be a role model. I am your host, Natasha Pearl Hansen, and today I have as my amazing guest another three-namer, Josh Adam Meyers.
Hi.
What's up, baby?
Not much.
Can you turn up my headphones a little bit, baby? Because I can't really hear myself. You can leave that in the podcast because it's real. How are you, Josh?
I'm fantastic. Can you also turn mine up in the headphones? I'm being extra real.
Extra real. I can hear you really well, but I can't hear myself very well. This is us testing. This is how things go. There we go. That's better. I sound a little bit more buttery in my own ears now. How have you been, man? I feel like I haven't seen you in ages, but I see you all the time, kind of. But not. We don't really get to talk about life.
I'm doing fantastic. I just got out of yoga, and I feel very at peace with my chakras right now.
Good. Yeah, I do yoga as well.
Do you?
Do you do?
I'm all about it. I'm like a month into it.
Which one do you do?
I do beginners yoga at Core Power. So I got brought over from. I was doing CrossFit for 7 years, and then everything in my body started crickling and crackling, and I was like, all right, I got to fix this because I'm about to go into 40, and I want to everything hurt. I had pinched nerves and so there was this gay instructor. He's very gay. He's so funny at the CrossFit gym, and he was like, you would do so good at Core Power. He's like, I'm coaching tomorrow. You're getting a free week. And I was like, all right. And I went over there, and I just loved it. Because he coached, and I like the spiritual aspect of it.
I do
know
too.
what I mean? I really enjoy the matching the movement with your breath. And I also enjoy the butts. There's a lot.
Do you sit in the back of the class?
No,
so
I actually sit. I
butts?
sit in the front. I sit in the
too.
front because I don't want them to think that I'm the creepy guy. And then also, it's just me slow playing them to eventually hook up with. But I want them to be like, oh, he's so not creepy. He's always in the front. Little do they know, there's mirrors in the back.
There's mirrors everywhere.
So I can just hit over the shoulder, get an extra stretch in my neck, and just be like, kabooty.
Oh, yeah.
But I love the actual process of it, and so within a week, I just was like, when the pass ended, I was like, man, I really want to do it, and I was like, all right, I'll sign up, and then I was like, well, I don't want to use their shitty mats, so I bought a Manduku.
Ooh, the fancy one.
I bought all fancy shit.
That's the one that absorbs everything, right?
Actually, it's a Lululemon, but I got a Manduku sheet or whatever towel on it. And I've got a little holdy thing, and I started buying
got all the shit.
Yoga shorts, so I look cute when I'm doing it.
Ooh.
And
how does that work on a man? Do you ever feel like things are going to pop out?
Listen, man, I have a great body because of fentanyl. So it's very. I mean, I can't gain weight.
True, yeah.
I look incredible. I'm telling you, if you are out there and you want to lose weight and look good, just do opiates for
forever.
No. 3 years. But the middle year has to be hardcore. You have to almost die a few times. And I promise you, all the weight that you're trying to get off will be gone.
Will be gone. Man, I cannot relate to any of that.
No, you have a good body though. You've always been in fantastic shape.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I try. I mean, I do. I enjoy working out because it's very cathartic for me.
Oh, it's the best.
And it balances the amount of drinking that I also enjoy doing. I feel like it's the yin to my yang.
Yeah, you're a party animal.
I can party pretty hard.
You go big on Halloween. I've seen that. I've seen your costumes.
I love creating my costumes. It's my favorite thing.
And they're good. I'm not gonna lie. They're not just they're sexy, but they're well thought. Sexy.
Thank you.
Do you know what I mean? That Venus de Milo one that you did?
I'm obsessed with that. I can't believe I thought of that.
Good.
I've never seen anybody do that.
That was fantastic.
And now I'm what am I going to do next year to top myself?
It's coming up.
I know. I've always made my own costumes, and I usually come up with what I'm going to do 2 weeks before.
How about you go as Penis de Milo, where you just put penises all over on your fingers? On that, never mind. That's not.
Yeah, no. I love doing superhero stuff because. But I already did Mystique. The year I did Mystique, it was so good. I don't know how I can top that as another superhero character.
Mystique? That would be, what'd you do for
I painted my whole self again. I really like painting myself.
You like basically being naked.
Yeah.
But with pasties on.
But
and you're no, but this is totally normal.
But
it's I'm not being slutty. I'm just butt ass naked with a little like leaf over my pussy, and that's it. But I got blue paint on.
Yep. I make it so artistic that it doesn't feel like, and I don't wear heels or anything. Those are two things that make me feel like it's less slutty than it is, but I'm totally usually the most naked person.
You're very naked. You have like a picture of you on your social media. I think you've got like a bagel on your titties or something. Or cheese. Never mind.
Yeah.
Same thing.
I should do a bagel, actually. That'd be a good...
Your nipple would be exposed.
Yeah. It would be the antithesis of what the cheese was covering. But... Yeah. So, man, when did I meet you? Was at Comedy Store probably about 9 years ago, I think.
We met... Man.
Would have had to have been Comedy Store.
It was probably at a comedy club.
Yeah, it was definitely Comedy Store, I think, because that's when I started coming to LA from Chicago. Was when I had a show there. Remember, I had a show there for 3 years
at the Comedy Store.
Mm-hmm.
Vaguely.
It was my deep dish Saturday.
Vaguely,
my Chicago show.
I vaguely remember.
But I used to have you and like Dean Del Rey and Justin Martindale like pop in all the time.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing stand-up now?
August 1st, it's 11 years.
Yeah.
But there are like 2 years before I started that I actually did my first open mic. Like I think it was like summer of 2016, like right after I graduated college and I just was
You mean 2006?
2006, yes, you're right. Thank you. I was all coked up, and everybody was like, "You're so funny. You should do stand up." And I had wanted to do it for years, and then I went home, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna find an open mic." And like the internet existed, so I was like, "All right, let me just check." And because before, when I was 18, I could never find an open mic because I didn't look hard, and two, you have no access to figuring out anything.
Because I didn't know in Chicago either until like somebody, I don't know if you've spent time in Chicago, but like the godfather of Chicago comedy, Danny Callis, like picked me up after a show one night in his van and took me to all these open mics.
That kind of sounds creepy a little bit.
It does.
I don't know. That's something you want to tell people on a podcast.
Creepy, but it was a group of us. Thank God it wasn't just me. But I had
we
no
were
idea.
all tied up in the back.
We were.
You ever seen the movie?
Strangled and struggling for our lives.
You ever seen the movie Split? Is that what it is? Split?
Oh, dude, that movie. He's so good in that movie.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, and so I didn't know that there was this whole underground scene of people that went to mics, multiple of them in a night. I didn't know that was a thing. And when I was exposed to that, I was like, holy fuck, this is awesome.
In Chicago, too, which is actually probably one of the bigger comedy towns in the world. Yeah. So I was in D.C. I was in the D.C. area. And,
that's where you started?
Well, I did a handful of open mics at Wiseacres, which is in Northern Virginia, in a hotel in a Ramada, and there was a whole scene, and I didn't know what I was doing, at all. And then I moved out here August 1st, 2007, and I worked in television for the first 6-7 months. I worked for Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And
were you producing?
No, I was a production assistant.
Okay.
So I worked on the first 2 seasons of that. I worked on some Playboy porno, reality porno.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what it was. It was like it was called Foursome, and I was a PA on that. And then I worked on a show called it was a dance show, dance competition, and I did that for the 2 weeks that they needed me. And then, but I had just started doing open mics, really. But it was just like this slow burn until August, when I had met Ange. I had met like Gerard and Byron and Rel and all the guys that were like the guys that I was like, that was my class. And that was when I was like, all right, I'm dedicating my life. This is all I'm doing. And that was August 1st. So I just say the first date is always August 1st,
that you made it was like your baptism into comedy.
Yeah, I think there's levels. I mean, when to be a comic, it's dedication, and you really have to work. It has to be you have to be an everyday thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was when I was like, this is all I'm doing. And I think for the next 9 months, I think I did a spot every day. I only missed like 1 day in a row. That was the longest it would go. When I went home to visit my parents, I would go into the city and do an open mic, whatever I could do.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's that balance. Like when I was just talking to somebody about this last night, because I rarely go to I'll go to a mic if I need to like work out something for something specific if I don't have spots or something.
Yeah.
But I hadn't been to an open mic in years. And like we were reminiscing about how when you first start stand up, I mean, I used to try to get up 2 or 3 times a night as often as I could, every night if possible. And then now I try to do more like, I want more like meaty sets that I can relax into. So I might do less in a week, but I do much longer, more
Sure.
time. You know what I mean? So there's like that kind of diminishing return you hit at some point where you're like, okay, I just need to like focus on this hour that I need to do or whatever it may be. But
Yeah.
when you first start, I mean, that's the best advice that I've ever been told and told anybody else is just get on stage as often as possible.
Yeah.
And what was the open micing scene like when you started? Was it
In Los Angeles? Or
was it accepting or was it like
no, it was my group was accepting, but certain
Yeah.
venues just weren't. I mean, the Comedy Store was a very rough place back then. So it just was, the open mic was brutal, man.
Oh,
it
I'm
was
sure.
it was like the host would shit on you if you did bad. Luckily I didn't get up a lot at Comedy Store. Like when I did, I would bomb, and because my nerves would just take over, and it was like. But the group of people that I hung out with, like Jamar and all, I mean, just everybody, Willie, we all had this center with 2 people, which were Gerard Carmichael and Angelo Bowers, who
Yeah.
had so much positive energy and positivity that it made the group very, very positive.
Yeah.
Like it was hard to stay in a negative space because Ange was just this light that everybody he was around, he put in a good mood because he like released oxytocin. Like talking to
Yeah.
Angelo is like petting like a Labrador. You know what I mean? Like it was just you felt good. You just were like, oh, life's okay. And the same thing with Gerard.
Yeah. And I'd only met Angelo a handful of times, but I remember when he passed and how close you guys were. And
That was my buddy.
I know he was one of your closest friends. And it's always tough when you lose such a positive spirit in this space, especially because people do have this outlook of stand-up as it being such a negative. And I don't know. Part of that is true, I guess, because there's something that has to be released from people when something bad happens. It's like our coping mechanism. But I also, as a person who feels pretty positive most of the time, I feel bad that a lot of people assume that comedians are dark. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but no, there's an underlying darkness to what we do. And
Yes, there
it's
is.
It's not normal to go on stage. If you have for your living is getting instant gratification and getting people to like you. Like it's a very ego-driven profession.
Very strange.
But I think that there are ways of not sitting in that. I think every comic has something dark inside of them, or to be honest with you, every person.
Yeah,
every
that's really what it
person
comes
has,
down to.
We're all dealing with the same shit. Everybody is afraid of their impending doom, which is coming, all of us. So get prepared, get your issues in order. But so I think there's ways of dealing with that, and I think comedians kind of address it, but yet also push it down.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up 20 minutes north of Washington, D.C.
Okay.
In a little town. It's not a little town, but called Germantown, Maryland.
Oh, I've actually heard of Germantown.
Have you?
Yes. I
Montgomery
have a
County.
friend who lives in
Have
D.C.
You lived in Germantown?
You live, what?
What high school did you go to?
I'm not Mike, by the way.
No, that's fine.
She's saying her mom lived there, and then
Our producer.
I went to Paint Branch High School in Silver Spring.
she went to Paint Branch and Silver Spring. Good for you. That's a cool area.
That is
I
what
was,
of a
I
small
was,
world fucking situation here.
I was Seneca Valley. Seneca Valley is the best. We are That's like our fight song. Don't look at me like I'm fucking nuts. Your school didn't have a fucking fight
He
song?
just likes any opportunity he can to sing. He like has such a. We were just at Ice House for Jan Smith's going away thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, yeah, I have to leave. I have to podcast with Josh Adam Meyers, and literally like 5 people were like, the best voice in comedy. I was like, I know.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Everybody gets off to your voice. I feel like you could. And then I told them.
Why can't they just get off to me? Just me, not just the voice.
I said if you ever did a line of children's books, I would be the first to buy all of them.
Thank you very much.
You should do a jam children's book line. So growing up outside of DC, what's your family situation like? Was there anybody that was kind of a role model in your family, or did you have anybody that kind of was funny, or were you the comic relief of the family?
As far as role models in my house, there really wasn't. There was someone that me and my dad had connection where at least he introduced me to the arts. He introduced me to music at a very young age, to comedy, stand-up comedy. I mean, I was watching like Mel Brooks movies at 4 or 5 years old, and so by putting that in front of me, maybe it was just me wanting to connect with my dad, but I was just drawn to all of that stuff. So as far as music, it was like that was my first obsession. Still to this day is such a huge part of my life because it's so beautiful and it's just so positive. Even like the most death metaliest song, it's still beautiful. Like if you're those people that are there listening to that, like are just so connected, and it's great how music does that. So
well, and it's such an organic space for you, which I feel like leading up to like goddamn Comedy Jam and all that stuff. That's why people love seeing you do that because you're in that element so naturally. It's
just fun, man.
Yeah,
it is just so much fun. And so my dad put all of that in front of me, and then I started to play music, and that was, like I said, my obsession, to start collecting records and getting into bands. And then stand-up was this other thing where it was just I'd always watch my dad laugh, and I remember at a really young age watching Comic Relief with him, and there was George Carlin was on stage, and he's doing his "My stuff is stuff, your stuff is shit" bit, which is so great. And I just remember my dad crying, laughing, and I'm laughing for a multitude of reasons, being like a 6-year-old kid, and there's some guy saying shit.
Yeah.
And it just sounds so like cool. But that was like the moment that I was like, I want to be a stand-up comedian. That's what I want to do because I want to be fun.
So you
like
knew
I'm
young.
funny. I knew very, very young that I wanted to do this.
Did you think you wanted to get into music at all too, or did you ever think that
I wanted to do both?
You wanted to do both.
That's what my
do.
dad. Yeah, it's insane. Like
you did exactly what you wanted to do. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty. I sit in the gratitude of where I'm at and how I've been able to do both.
No wonder you do yoga. Do you have to center?
I'm a very
appreciate yourself.
I am a very I didn't for so long.
Yeah,
for
I know.
So long I didn't enjoy being me and just shit on myself and did not love myself. And then it was only maybe a couple of years ago that I'd really be able to enjoy this like adventure that we're on. And it's things like yoga and meditation and mindfulness and manifestation. It's all of that stuff that has just been able to like. So you talk about the dark side of being a comic. Like I still have one, but I don't sit in it.
Yeah.
It's there.
It's a choice.
It has to be. You have to have enough positive. There's enough positive and enough negative to balance you out. Like we're balanced completely.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of like attitude.
Yeah. And that's the way I approach it too. And I feel like there's a lot of ways to approach comedy when you have the ability to perform. Like that's why I do. Everyone's like, "Why do you travel so much?" I'm like, because it makes me
you're
happy.
All over the place.
It makes me happy though, and I love being able to choose where I go. And now that I'm at a point where I can entertain somebody for an hour without it sucking, like that's the difference. Is if you try to do it too soon, you don't have enough. I've definitely.
Sure. Oh, I know.
But now I'm like, man, this is how great is this? I can just go wherever and I can entertain somebody for an hour. It's a good feeling to have. But yeah, I mean, there's just something to be said about making the choice to approach this business in a way that makes you feel good, because there's definitely a way to not do that too.
I think that of the majority of the comedians in Los Angeles and around the world are trying to do it a way that has been established already, to make it. And it is, I'm just going to do this, and I'll get new faces, and then I'll get a late night set, and then I'll get a half hour, and this. And it's like, as a entertainer now, you have to just be so well-rounded. You have to have a podcast, and you have to have a show, and you have to have that. And you just have to you have to create the work for you, because we really have that power now.
Yeah.
To create all of this.
Exactly.
It's just by pushing forward through the negative thoughts of like, well, I don't know if this is going to work. You just have to know it's going to work and make it work.
Yeah. And not give yourself another choice. I mean,
yeah, I don't know what I would do. Well, I could probably fall back on some stuff. I could probably if I quit comedy, I could probably be a waiter for a few months while I figured it out.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? But then I'd schmooze my way into some job. I have no idea how, but I'm a good interview, so I can win you over in the interview. But then when it comes to performance on the spot, like of the job, it fades very quickly from good to bad. Like at any job I've ever done besides this.
What are some of the hardest jobs or some of the hardest moments you've had? Because this is a big discussion.
Jobs or moments? Because it's a totally.
So let's do jobs first, and we'll do moments. Because that was a big thing that people are always surprised, especially when you're a chick. They're like, oh, you didn't have any money at some point? Like, people just think you, like, somebody just
you
gives
can
you
women
money.
can always, because women can always shack up with a guy.
Well,
like,
they
women, that's the thing, is that, like, and there are a lot that do that, you know, because it's survival.
Fuck, I wish.
But,
I never did that. I wasn't smart.
But I'm just saying, like, you know, there's, I think to really make it, you have to have a moment of like, I have nothing right now. I have nothing. I don't know where I'm staying tonight. I don't know how I'm going to eat. I had 9 months of that.
Yeah.
You know, before I found probably the best and the worst job that I've ever had.
What was
I
it?
was a strip club DJ for 6 years.
Oh, duh. Yeah. You
for the first 6 years of my career, I was a strip club DJ. Not the first 6 years, so leave out one because so that's how.
Did you work every day?
No, I worked. Well, when I worked day shift at Rouge, I worked Monday through Saturday day shift. Maybe
what
with
were
like
the
1
day
day
shift
off.
strippers like?
They were great. They were great. Everybody shits on it, dude. Amara, Isis, Bentley. Who else was there? Like, what are the other ones? There was Ruby Reyes. There was. These are all their real names. There was Madison that would work occasionally. There was Bree, but then Bree became a heroin addict, and she just got. Oh, it was so sad. But I think she got sober, but then she became a neo-Nazi. In rehab. Yeah,
what?
but I mean, hey, listen, man, if neo-Nazi got her off the sauce, like, good for her.
Sure.
You know?
I suppose.
I mean, she got kicked off Facebook because she was putting, like, sickles and, like, not like whatever, there's some, like,
the symbol,
some iron, you know, like Thor hammer that's, like, some big racist thing. But then, there was her friend. Oh, what was that girl's name? Fuck, I forget. But let's just say... it was the weirdest family I've ever been a part of.
Yeah. But then you had the days where you got to work and the nights you could go do
So
comedy.
I did stand up every night.
Yep.
And I mean every night. And then I DJ during the day.
Was it good, consistent money too?
No. It wasn't consistent. It could be good. I mean, there were shifts that I would make. I usually make on a day shift between 40 to about $100, right?
Okay, did you get tipped out from the service?
I got tipped out from the dancers. So if they did 5 dances, they're supposed to give me $5. So if a girl does a half hour, that's considered 10 dances, right?
Right.
So 3 songs, and so I'm supposed to get $10 from her. That's how it usually works. And then you have other girls that are like, leave me off stage. And I'm like, all right, that's $20 for the shift. Booyah.
Yeah.
So she gives me 20. And then it's like, I want to go up again. So there's ways of hustling, which I figured out later. But the first job was just I'd put on music. It was never really busy. And you'd put girls on stage and I would just, you know, get high in the parking lot. And it wasn't bad because it was like when I first started, it was actually like the managers were cool and some of the girls were cool and the money was good. But then like it just slowly got worse and worse. Like the GM left and then this new guy came in and he started running it to the ground and then we almost lost everything and then it like came back.
Which strip club was it?
It was called Rouge. It was off Satakoy in the Valley. It was it's now a Dames and Games, topless.
Ooh.
No, but before it was just fully nude.
So
no
it's one of those
alcohol.
spaces that they have, like, is there a titty license? Is that
Yeah,
why
well,
they
you
kept
have
it
to-
topless?
Well, no, you have to, if you're going to do full nude, there's no alcohol. And if you want to do topless, it's a totally different, like, thing, but you can have alcohol.
Yeah.
So, so I worked there, and, I mean, it was, listen, it was, I was dating a girl, and we split rent, so my rent was like $600 a month, and we lived together, and with what I made hourly and you know, it was fine. Like it was like it didn't affect me. Like I hated the job, but at the time I was a growing comic, and it was like I wasn't doing anything. Like I could get away with so much shit there.
Yeah.
And so I worked there for a while, and then as the career started taking off, I think we started getting around 2012. They opened up a club in downtown LA, and I was like, all right, I'll work there. And it was a Dames and Games, and I started working day shifts there, and I was making great money. I was at least making $100 a shift during the day.
That's great.
It was fantastic.
For being
and
a
it was
comedy,
fun.
yes.
My manager Steve was awesome. All the managers there were great. The door guys were great. The girls were fun. It was great. And it was very popular too. So it was packed every day. And then probably around like February, they were like, "Hey, do you want to work a night shift? I want you to work." I guess they were having problems with their nighttime DJ Friday and Saturday, and they were like, the management and like corporate, Spearmint Rhino Corporate loved me. Because I would just talk shit, and I would just get the dances. I was so good on the mic.
Well, and you're naturally funny, and so
I was getting.
I'm sure
girls would be like giving a
crushing
lap
at the
dance,
strip
like
club.
dry humping in the back, like giggling, like, "Oh, that motherfucker crazy. You want to do another 15 minutes? You want me to keep mushing your dick? I'll keep doing it. I'll mush your dick for another half hour for $250." And so. Then they were like, work one night shift. And I worked one night shift, and I made $600. And the guy was like, "Listen, man, Friday and Saturday, Thursday and Friday are even busier. Why don't you pick up those shifts, blah, blah, blah." And because they wanted to get rid of that other DJ. And I started doing that. And, dude, I was making, you know, fucking $800 to $1,000 a night.
What's the difference? What was just more
it's
dancers?
packed, and there's like 60 dancers.
Yeah.
So they're all doing dances. They're all doing hustles. Then I started creating hustles, which is like, you want this song for the night? That's $100. You want this? You want that?
Oh, so you're making a G.
There was a lot of what working, but then my career started to take off in the stand-up world. You know, where I got new faces at Just for Laughs, and I always talk about this because this was such a downfall, but also the beginning of another thing, which was like, it was a pivotal moment because I did that, and then I had to come back to Los Angeles, and when everybody that I went to New Faces with was doing late night and stand up on the road and doing this, I literally was like, I still had a DJ at the strip club because nobody knew what to do with me, and I didn't even know what to do with me.
Because you're your own box, kind of.
Yeah, and literally, I just fell into the worst depression. I started to hate that job. I started using opiates. Did
you drink at that time?
No, I haven't drank in years.
I didn't know how
quit.
long
I quit back in 2006.
Yeah.
But I was miserable because I couldn't look at the strip club job as a job and just know that it's just there. It's keeping me in my apartment. It's keeping me doing stand up, but I looked at it's like I'm going to be doing this forever, like blah, blah, blah. I'm never going to make it. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me, blah, blah, blah. And I was so miserable. And it wasn't until that didn't last. Even when I left the job, because it almost broke me. It made me a fucking full-blown junkie.
Yeah.
But even though after I left the job, which was when I had sold the TV show and this is taken off and this and that.
That's when you sold Goddamn?
Yeah, so we sold that in November of 2015.
Was it that long ago already?
Yeah.
Shit.
That was when we sold it to Comedy Central, and then it was like that. I guess it was the beginning of.
And then were you still doing the DJ thing while you did that?
Barely though. It started getting less and less and less. Like I was working, but my addiction was taking over. So I would work. I only worked Thursday and Friday nights, but then it was like I kept calling out and. Not a lot, but there was like a time, I guess it was like January. It was they made you work on Thanksgiving and fucking Christmas, and it was ridiculous that I had to work on those nights. So I think I worked Thanksgiving, but then when Christmas came, I was like, I'm not fucking working Christmas, and I had somebody cover my shift, and I think the week before I had somebody cover my shift, and right before New Year's, which I was supposed to work New Year's, I got a text from the manager saying like, you know, don't come in on New Year's. He's like, come in next week. We need to talk. And he was just like, he liked me, but there was another DJ there that was like in his ear trying to get my shifts. And he was like, he worked like, if I worked 2 nights, he worked 5.
Right.
And so he wanted my shifts. And so I guess he got in the manager's ear. And so then they moved me from Thursday, Friday to Sunday, Monday, which are like no money days.
Right.
And so I just was like, well, I'm going to have vocal cord surgery and just, the TV show, we're going to start shooting it soon. So
I didn't know you had vocal cord surgery.
yeah, I had that in February 2016.
Fuck. From what?
I had a nodule.
Okay, because you use your voice so much. Yeah,
it was just warped from snorting drugs and just screaming,
screaming
all the time. and so I had it, and so I was like, all right, well, I'll just quit, and I'll have the surgery, and the girl I'm with will support me until I start making money in April when I started going out on the road. And
well, what was the process of, just to put a pin in that for a second, because I feel like it's fun for me to expose some of this process to listeners, because everyone assumes once you sell a TV show, you've made it. And some of that is true, but some of it is really challenging, and sometimes you get screwed over and certain things happen. And there's things I talk to about with Becky or with Justine or different people who've worked with different networks, just to kind of get the insider of what like that process was like for you, the selling of the show.
What do you want to know?
I mean, I don't know. There's so many things that get really complicated, or
my show wasn't.
Yours was good.
There were things that I fought for, which ultimately I didn't get, but it was like we sold it on the first. We sold the goddamn Comedy Jam. All right, so I started the show July 2014. By December 2014, I already had a deal with a production company. Then by January, we had sold it to CW. Then and already had it going to JFL. So it moved very, very quickly. We'd already done a festival, and then I got an offer to do JFL like literally 5 months before the festival.
Yeah.
Because of Robbie Pearl. Big ups. I owe everything to Robbie Pearl. I love him to death. And so then they held it hostage until right before JFL, and then they gave us a show back because Mark Pedowitz passed. Which I was so happy about, because I never wanted to be on CW. I was like, this is going to be cheesy as fuck.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, the goddamn. I
couldn't see this on CW at all. That's so, I didn't
It would have been terrible.
Yeah. So when did this?
Then Comedy Central, who didn't want a meeting, we'd only pitched it once to CW. We hadn't pitched it to anybody else. And then we went into Comedy Central after JFL and all the hype. And we just won them over in the room. And it was Gary Mann and Jonas and Jordy and Ryan, all great guys. And we just fucking, I started talking about it, and I just was getting them laughing. And because I believed in the show so much.
Well, and it's rooted in who you are, too, which it makes it so genuine. Like I said, I feel like people really feel that energy when you're pitching something out of true love rather than like trying to convince yourself that you like.
No, I believed in the show. I believed in the live show 100%.
It's amazing, yeah.
So then 2 days later, they made an offer. I remember I was taking a shit when I got the call from Duffy. But I wasn't excited, because I was happy, but I wasn't like, we got an hour special, but it's like because of the CW thing, I thought this could all go away, just like anything else. So I didn't talk about it. And
well, and did CW retain any rights to anything?
yeah, the Duffys had to pay CW like I don't know, something stupid like $5,000 a show or some. They made a bad deal. I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't make a bad deal.
Yeah. Huh. That's and
so
those are the kind of complicated things that I mean to bring up, just because people just think you have a show and but they don't realize all the layers and stuff.
There's layers
to get.
It's an onion.
Yeah, it is.
And then we sold it to Comedy Central. That was November of 2015. And then it was just phone calls up until we set the date, which was June 21st, 2016. We taped the special at the Avalon, and everybody was so excited. And then we got the news September that we were getting the series, and then the announcement was October, and then we shot it in January of 2017. That was it.
Yeah.
It was very easy. It really, it took a while if you really want to think about it. It took 2 years to get the first thing on television.
Right.
From the creation of the show to the TV show.
The actual execution.
And then it took a year and a half to get it, a full series.
Yeah.
As far as how the show aired and what it was like Comedy Central really was behind it, but they just, didn't want me as the host. Like I was the host of the special, but they were they wanted more, and I think they wanted more of like a just real celebrity driven and behind the scenes and very close to like I think like a lip sync battle that was on at the time.
Yeah.
And I could see why, but it's just the show. I'm it's like one of these things where it's like I am so happy that it happened the way that it did because it got me to here and everything's great.
Yeah.
But it's like it's just the show. Like I saw the show. Like when I created the show was it, and that's how it's always been, and nothing's changed. And it's still one of the most popular shows in LA and at festivals. But it's me, it's the band, it's Jeremiah, it's Johnny Scortis, it's everybody. It's the venue, whether we do it at the Lyric or the Roxy.
It's the energy that you guys create, and it's not the same.
And I think it was just missing that. And that's what Comedy Central, I fought and I fought and I fought. I sat down with everybody and like literally was like, this is how it should be. And they were just like, and in their defense, they said they bought the show before they saw it. So they bought, I think, the concept, and they enjoyed the execution, but they just wanted to make changes.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know if me as a host would have moved the dial. I was a part of the series, but we taped. What I loved, and more than anything, was that we taped the series like it was a live show with me and the band, and they just cut out a lot of the stuff, into the in-betweens. But it was such a beautiful experience shooting that show because it was like regardless if it aired or not, it was that moment, having that memory of just being up there with close to 1,000 people in the stands for 4 nights was just incredible. So
so now it just continues as a live show.
It's when there's time. I mean, we do a lot of festivals still, but it's just like to find it doing in LA. I love it. We just did it at the Lyric, which is the original theater, and we need to find a venue like that. The Roxy is just so big, and when we do it, it's like we got to make these huge lineups to make it sell out. And it's just like I want to take it back to like 100-seater and just make it this like just
intimate
do it once
thing.
a month, yeah. But I've been so busy with stand up and my podcast, The 500. Which is just like I'm not gonna say I moved on. It's like, but I love the show.
Well,
but
you
I
always
want to
have
keep
to be
it
creating new stuff.
Yeah,
it's just how it is.
I just want to keep it. I just want to keep it this very special thing that it is, and do it every once in a while out here, and I think that's what makes it great.
Which is perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, would you say, what was the biggest challenge between the new faces to this point that you hit in your career as far as just feeling snagged? Because I know that's an experience a lot of comics I've talked to have had, that they get like a big opportunity and it seems like it's going to turn their career around then, but then what they expected to come out of it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And
I've been, I am extremely grateful for the career that I have because, new faces didn't work immediately. No, I had to go back to a strip club. I had to work there. But in all honesty, I mean, I've been to JFL. I'm going this year. This will be my 6th and 7th year. So it's just like this is like the 6th time in 7 years that I've been to JFL.
Yeah.
So I've been 5 years in a row. Like it's incredible. Like I'm extremely grateful. Whatever I couldn't see in that moment, it all happened later. And I think what people need to realize is if you're working for getting. If you're working for those moments of like victory, like I booked this, I did that. If you just enjoy, and this is what I've learned, is just enjoy the work. I just love going on stage in front of 5 people. You know what I mean? That's just as good to me as going in front of a room of 5,000.
Well, and
like it's so much fun what we get to do. And if you just enjoy every single day, because this is it. This is all you've got. This is all she's got. This is all I've got. This is the only moment that we have right now. So all the other shit doesn't matter. The future hasn't happened yet, and the past is behind us. So it's like just learn to enjoy the present moment. And even if you're not where you want to be, it's still great. You're still in a great spot. It's the place you're supposed to be. And so it took a while for me to stop thinking like I want, and just be like, I'm so happy I have.
Well, and to remove the comparison, that was the thing I worked on years ago that I've gotten really good at, is just focusing on myself and being better than myself yesterday, because that's all you really can control. You can't control what other people are up to. And
no, I agree.
And some people have a situation like yours. There's like two ends of the spectrum. Some people have a situation like yours. Well, they'll get a big moment that most people would assume would do something immediately, but it doesn't. It has to marinate for a minute before the big things start to happen. Other people will get a pop, and then so many things happen for them at once, and none of it ends up working out. And then a year or two later, they've got nothing going on, and they're equally as frustrated. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's two sides of the whole thing. You have to just trust your own timing. That's something that I've just laid into the last few years. I'm like,
you just taped an hour special. That's fantastic.
Just on my same, like what you were saying with Goddamn Comedy Jam, it was a live event too. So, I mean, I was actually hosting all these people that would have been wedding guests and friends of mine.
I know you probably talked about this on the podcast, but
I haven't actually.
You haven't?
What? Not really.
Because I'm boring. That story is what happened?
So I mean, we've been together. We went on our
long time.
We've been together for 8 years, but went on our first date 12 years ago, and we just hit our hard patch during engagement. You know, if we had been married at year 2, we would have hit the same hard patch probably. Our careers are going in 2 different directions, and both are really good. And so it's been like us needing to focus on ourselves in like these separate tunnels. And a lot of that isn't allowing crossover. And so there's just been, you know, it's just a tough patch. And I've been really honest about it on stage. And as I was realizing, you know, and as I took that, my hour to Europe with Rachel, and was testing all these relationship things over there, and realized it was something that translated to all these people overseas as well. And I was like, oh, this is something
love, man.
Well, and it's a touchy portion because so many women feel like they need to get engaged or want to get engaged. They're really wishing for a ring, and then other people are married and always complaining about being married, or like there's 2 sides of the bitching spectrum: being single, being married. Nobody really speaks on the engagement process and how that like really tests couples. So to me, that's been something that I wanted to open up about, and it was a perfect opportunity to do it, you know?
And so you're still together?
We're still together. We still live together.
See, that was when I was bummed out about, because I was like, I'll finally be able to go out with her. I was like, finally. She's been with the same guy for like fucking
so many people
15 years.
I'm like, man, I should
You know how many hungry like male comics?
I should just be single. I'd eat for free for like 2 months, dude.
I'd cook for you. I'd cook for you.
But I haven't even seen him in almost a month. Like I was away, and then we crossed over for like 8 hours, and now he's been away, and he doesn't get back till like the week after 4th of July. So I mean, we're just like ships in the night.
Are you happier right now?
I'm happy, you know, if I'm being completely honest.
Be honest.
I'm really, really happy in my own element. I just was
You don't know who you are.
Yeah.
You don't know who alone Natasha is. You've been with somebody. How long have you guys been living together?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
You know, you've been together for how long?
8.
8 years?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how old you are, but
34.
34? So yeah, I mean, it's like, well, it's not like you were like a baby.
No, I wasn't.
Did you date
too
a lot
young.
prior to being with what's his name? Slimbo Jenkins? I forget what's his name. Justin.
Yeah.
That's it. He's a good-looking guy.
I was just I've always just kind of done my thing. I was a playa.
Were you really?
Yeah, kind of just dated
a
around.
yoked out fucking vascular playa.
Dated around, man.
She has like
so much
zero
fun.
body fat, people. Zero. The girl. She has 1 noodle of noodle a day. That's her carbohydrate, but it's whole grain.
Yeah, whole grain carbs.
Mm-hmm.
Avocado. I ate like a whole avocado for breakfast.
Is that healthy?
I don't know, but I love avocados.
I've been eating the same breakfast for 2 years every day.
What is it?
It's 5 egg yolks. 5 egg whites, 1 egg, and then a half a cup of oatmeal with a half a cup of blueberries, a dab of almond milk, and a little bit of honey for flavor.
Dude, yeah, that's good.
It's a perfect breakfast.
Clean.
That's micros,
Energy.
macros. Pack
All the
rows,
stuff.
kashlack
All
rows,
the shit.
and katak rows, everybody. That's what I'm talking. All right, y'all, get your dollar bills out, y'all.
Strip club boys.
This is what I used to say. I used to say, buy 2 dances, get 1 free. Save a little bit of green. Get everything in between, y'all. You know what I'm saying. You always you throw that. You know what I'm saying. I'm talking about
God.
pussy, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. I literally was like a cat caller. I was a professional cat caller.
Yeah.
Like, look how fine this girl is. You know you want her to mush your dick, and she'll do it for $20 topless, $30 nude. Come on, man, do a half hour with
Mush
Amara.
your
It'll
dick.
only last. Amara's half hours lasted 1 song because she gave hand jobs.
What?
And
She
was
actually gave hand jobs?
Yeah, she gave hand jobs. I know because years later, I don't give a fuck. It was like years later, I was like, I'd worked with her, and then I'd moved on to the other strip club, and I was like, Amara. I went to the old club, and I was like, Amara. I was like, I always wanted to get a half hour with you. She's like, I'll do it for free. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah. She's like, you just have to pay the house fee. And I was like, I paid the house fee, which was like, I think, $60 or whatever that she had to give to the house, and it was a great lap dance. Let's just say that.
Did she give you a hand job?
Let's just say it was a
great-
great lap dance. And
hand jobs are kind of that's kind of
yeah, I love a hand job, dude.
underrated.
Listen.
And a stripper, like if you're just giving handies,
You look like you give a violent hand job.
You can wash your hand, and you don't get a disease from it.
No,
So
it's
listen, like the safest thing you can do.
Sex should be a business. It should be. It's 100%. And if somebody's trying to give me, they should 100% be. They should be taxing it and do it like Amsterdam. Because I had a buddy say to me, he was like, no, they shouldn't, because it's about the moral code. Because guys' husbands will be like, oh, well, it's legal, I should cheat. And I'm like, well, they would have cheated anyway.
Yeah, if you want to cheat, you're going to cheat.
If you want to cheat, if you want another if you want a different woman to have sex with, it's like you're going to find it.
Yeah.
So that's on them. It's not on the people that are just like, it should be a business because it works fine in Amsterdam. Yeah, and it should be safe.
That's how the Wild West was founded, actually.
Prostitution.
It was prostitution.
Gambling, all that
Women
stuff, man.
owned the Wild West.
You're the Wild West.
I am the Wild West deep inside. But yeah, it's just,
For the Wild, Wild West.
Who sang that song? Was it fucking
fucking
80s, right?
It was like Human League.
No,
it wasn't
It was
Human
really
League.
dirty. It was like a dirty fucking song.
Living in a
Wild,
backstop
wild
job,
west.
I'm Timmy, I'm Benny, I'm a D's, hibba she's so fine. Oh my, oh my.
I wish I
love
remembered
the same when I'm seeing
I love her
I gotta
eyes
finish it
and
now.
her wild, wild hair.
Dino,
Dance to the
then the wow, wow, bang.
We can start our own band.
No, I'm good.
So coming up, well, first of all, before we close up, I do want to hit some of the harder things
Hit
that
me.
you've been through in your stand-up career.
Like, I know we've only got a couple minutes, but tell me about the worst moment of your life.
Tell me about the worst moments in stand-up.
What do you want to know? Worst moments in stand-up?
Yeah. Some of the things that really stuck out to you that were difficult, because it's fun to hear what people have had to overcome. I mean, it's helpful, I think.
The hardest moment was losing Angelo.
Yeah.
That was for me, had nothing to do with career. It was he was the reason I was still doing stand up. So like, cuz I would have quit at the beginning.
Yeah.
And for Ange to suddenly be gone, I mean, it was just like, that was the dude I did everything with. That was a guy I was going to work with the rest of my life, and I was just so lost for years. It took a long time, to deal with that, and but luckily, and this is where the really, like, I don't know what we call it, the horizon. What is that expression?
Silver
Or
lining?
the silver.
Yeah.
Thank you. The silver lining is that. It was so tragic in the moment and for months after, and even years. But looking back now, it's like I'm carrying this torch for him and all the stuff that he taught people and all that positivity and like how to enjoy every moment and how every show, regardless if it's packed or it's empty, it doesn't make a difference. Like, we get to do this. And so now it's like just by taking all of that he taught, it's made everything fantastic. Like there's never a bad day.
Yeah.
There's never a bad day. And if it starts that way, I get out of it very, very quickly.
That's a really great that's a really great outlook to have.
Thank you.
That he passed
Yeah,
on to you.
it's everybody, whatever you're doing, you're very lucky, because there's somebody that wants what you're doing and wants to be where you're at, so just you don't have much time left. Like, you really don't.
I know.
You really don't,
and it
man.
sounds morbid, but it's just true. And
it's like, what I remember we were talking about this because I talk about death a lot on stage now, and I was just like, I shouldn't be so like I'm wasting time being afraid of death when I should be spending more time enjoying the life that I have.
Yeah,
and that's something you need to remember. It's just like it's complaining, like you don't want to be miserable, like you don't have a lot of time. So just, dude, like it's all good,
and you manifest what you say. Like if you tell yourself everything sucks, you're really gonna feel like everything sucks.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I can't. I think on the drive here, I was just like, I love my life because I'm like listening to music. I'm in a car that I like, and I'm like going to tape a podcast. I'm going to hang out with some friends that are in town that I never get. It's like, it's great, man. It's fucking great. So I love this. There's nothing wrong with stand up. I trust me. I want more spots, but I just I find them. I want to be on bigger shows, but I'm,
But you're creating them and you're on them.
And it's fine. Like, it's fine. It's all good, man.
I fucking love that. That's such a great way to end. What do you have coming up that you're excited about? Anything you want to plug?
I have a big announcement coming on the 500 podcast with Josh Adam Meyers. It's a music podcast where I'm going through Rolling Stone magazine's list of the 500 greatest albums. We've done about 32. We're starting at 500, working our way down. The greatest recorded music in the history of mankind. I sit down with huge comedians, Bill Burr, Wanda Sykes, Jim Jeffries, Sal Vulcano, Kevin Nealon, Jay Moore. I've got so many, Karen Kilgariff, huge names, and I use the album as a roadmap to interview them. And we have a huge announcement coming up, so be around for that. Everybody's going to hear it. It's great. And I do stand-up, and check my website. Actually, I don't ever update my website. Go to the 500podcast.com for the 500, and go to my social media. It's at Josh Adam Meyers. I'll be at JFL in July. And, yeah, man.
Fuck
That's
yeah.
it.
Well, I love you. Thank you for being on here.
I love you too.
Closing remark? Anything?
You're doing great. You're doing great, everybody. Just know that.
Yeah, we're all doing great.
You're whole, perfect, and complete.
Perfect. Peace.